It's good to see everybody here. Listen, I got to see a lot of you here at Santa, not here, but at Santa's Village in November. Raise hands for everybody who attended the Santa's Village event. Hey, thanks. That was awesome. I had a great time. Yes. A lot of you guys got an extra coaster in, and as one person at my table said, we got the donuts in, which was most important, right? We gotta love those donuts. All right, and the best part, and unfortunately, I had to leave early from that event. We did the Q&A, and I left because I had to go to IAPA. Unfortunately, I did not buy another roller coaster this time around. So, my apologies, my apologies. I did find a cool ride that may be in for 2026, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, so Santa's Village had a great year with the Midnight Flyer. Let this keep on going. The Midnight Flyer opened up June 7th. We had the ride pretty much done and ready to go. The scenery and the station still had a lot of work to go, so it was about 80% complete. Now it's 95% complete. This spring we're going to add all of the foliage and the landscaping to really give it that Santa's Village feel. But here's some stats from last year. We had about 180,000 riders on the Midnight Flyer. Yeah, so it was great. The best part is confirmed ages. The youngest that can ride it was 3 years old. And the oldest that I know of was 91. Again, yeah, that's awesome. And as I told everybody who attended the event before, the best part is the second time that we sent that coaster around with the public riding it, we had a 4-year-old great-grandchild and their 80-plus-year-old great-grandfather riding together. So I thought that was really cool. So 180,000 riders, total travel mileage of about 2,500 miles it ran this summer. It did 12,500 individual rides, but we sent it around twice, so it went around about 25,000 times. In terms of Vecoma's performance, which is awesome, great company to work with, there's 62 motors on the Midnight Flyer. We had one motor break down, so I thought that was a success. There was 57 different sensors on the ride, and we had 7 of them break. We were new to the ride. Everything was completely different to us. Unfortunately, due to supposed to pause. There it goes. We're a bunch of rookies at running this thing. So we had 2 evacuations. One, because we couldn't figure out the right sequence of events to get the ride back up and going, so we brought everybody off and then figured it out about 10 minutes later. That was after the second weekend of operations. And then we had another evacuation where a sensor went bad as the train was going up the hill, and we couldn't hit the sensor to fix it, so it would take a long time, so we had to evacuate it then. But I only brag about that because the ride was only down for 6 hours for the entire year, which is true.
But you gotta remember, that's a Vekoma.
Oh, yes.
Let's
have the
talk
same
about,
issues with
and that's the summer
minor
season.
Oh, yeah,
The
same
big
thing.
hard part was the winter season. As you can see right there, winter season poses a lot of problems. First, we have cold weather. Vekoma was always worried about the cold weather, and after careful negotiations, we got them down to say, hey, this roller coaster will operate at 13 degrees and warmer. The real reason why they're worried about the temperature was not because of the equipment and possible breakdown of equipment, but it was worried about the speed, and in particular, valleying. So what Vekoma did in the fall was they sent us all new wheels that were supposed to be much faster and used a different lubrication in the wheels to keep the ride going. But they said, just in case, buy a radar gun and keep the original wheels on it, and we'll just monitor. If it starts to get slow, 4 or 5 miles an hour slower than it should be, we'll switch the wheels and we'll see how it goes. Lucky for us, we did build a maintenance shed for the coaster, so we could put it in the maintenance shed at night. It remained at 60 degrees at all times. When we brought it out for the day, it was just before we opened, and so the majority, the ride didn't stay stagnant for very long. So the friction in the wheels, keeping the train going. And we did operate at 13 degrees multiple times, and we only lost 1 mile an hour for the temperature change. So that was a great victory for us. The other hard part was, for all of you who don't know, Santa's Village used to have Rudy's Rapid Transit, which was a similar coaster to Catwoman's Whip, I think that's what it's still called, here at Six Flags New England. It doesn't use a round track. It has like an I-beam track. It's flat. And after over probably 35 years of operations at Santa's Village, the steel wears. And we're always constantly monitoring what the wear is, but it's about 1 to 2 millimeters, so it's always a little bit of a valley. So whenever it came time to operating in the wintertime, it was yours truly here that would spend 3 hours climbing the track, and I would take a car windshield scraper and just scrape the track and scrape the track. And it wasn't a fun job, it wasn't an easy job, but it had to get done if we were going to operate the park. So this year we said, okay, hey, great. The Midnight Flyer has a round track, we know what we can do with it, minimal scraping. But it's a different type of layout and heavier banks up high, and it was definitely not safe enough for anybody to climb to scrape it. So we posed this to Vekoma and said, hey, what can you do for us? And they said, we can wish you good luck. I said, okay. Then I, listen, every roller coaster mechanic out there loves a great challenge. And so the challenge was to my team of what can we do to take care of the snow and the ice on the tracks. It started out with a bunch of concepts. We ended up building something out of wood, and then you let the fabricators just do their job, and they come through for you. So, looking closely, we have a little wheeled buggy right there. All right, this is a little bit more of a close-up. It's just a frame with rollers on each side to keep it on the track. The first portion that you see here, those white pieces, are the high-density plastic, so on springs. So they kept the plastic down as close as possible riding on the track, and they would do the heavy ice scraping. As we have an automotive paint booth at Santa's Village, and a full-time automotive painter that just takes care of all of our rides. He liked to call this the Paint Scraper 8000. I was very, very angry, but that plastic took care of the tracks and didn't pose any problems. And then on the back, we got a couple of scrub brushes. We cut them in half, and that's to whatever ice is lingering, whatever snow is lingering, would get taken off by that. So, it's supposed to be a video that's supposed to be playing. Let's see. There we go. As you can see, we're pulling it by ropes, and it would scrape the,
Cool.
Yeah, I wish it could come out bigger, but it would scrape the snow right off, and it would take less than a half hour to do the entire track. Sometimes if it was heavy, thick ice, we'd rock it back and forth and send it around twice. But it worked out really well. This was a video that we sent to Vekoma, just thanking them and wishing them a Merry Christmas. And I got my crew ahead, and we were showing this to them for the first time and saying, hey, here it comes through. And it worked smoothly, and it was great. And by doing that, we were allowed to operate at nighttime and send the Midnight Flyer around giant Christmas trees and have a good time with our with everything going. And here's an example of why we needed it, right? This whenever we're open in December, it's either Saturday or Sunday, it is always a sold-out crowd. And we have to make sure that everything is up and operational. And this is why we do it. This is why our fabricators do everything. At Santa's Village, we say, hey, pure joy family style. That's what we're all about. And riding this coaster in this snowstorm, I'm telling you, it was awesome. I snuck ahead on the line, and yes, I did go on it. But look at, how cool is that? Just in the snow, it's falling everywhere. Your eyes are squinting the whole time. The kids are loving it. The adults are loving it just as much. And so, really, it was a fantastic ride, and we're very proud to have the Midnight Flyer at Santa's Village. So, thank you very much, everybody. And I'll take any questions if you have any. Russ?
Has Tacoma approached you to patent that snow clearing device?
We're working on another version, and they were wondering if we could make a version that would have a motor on it. So that's, again, giving some gearheads a little bit of a mission and ready to go. But yeah, as far as I know, we're the only company that has developed a snow removal mechanism. A lot of other coasters. There are other coasters out there in the world. If anybody's seen the video of Fantasia Land and sending their coaster around with the snow over the track, that's great. That's awesome. But I'm telling you, it can be even more difficult. Again, who knows what the worst thing to get caught in roller coaster wheels could be when it's snowing out. This happened at Santa's Village one time. It stopped our Rudy's Rapid Transit immediately. Yes, a hat fell off, went down, crammed into those wheels, and we had to do a full-scale evacuation of while the cars were on the track, and that was tough. So, but also, just so everybody else knows, one of the grossest jobs for a maintenance person when taking care of a roller coaster is cleaning the hair out of wheels in the off-season. You wouldn't believe the amount of hair that gets caught in those wheels. It's very disgusting. But anyways, yes. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Is there such a thing as environmentally safe de-icer?
Yes, there is.
Why not use that?
Because you have to squirt it up really high, and it does not work as quickly and as efficiently as the scraper works. As a matter of fact, we use that de-icer. We do have environmentally safe de-icer. For those of you who've been to Santa's Village, we have a monorail that runs around the park, and we have to use it. It's an airplane de-icer that we use on that track to make things go. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
On the park website, there's a certain something. Is that what we're referring to for 2026?
Oh, yeah, we have, no, for 2025, we have a small new Zamperla kiddie ride. It's nothing spectacular, so it's not worth riding around to this group, but it will be a nice addition to Santa's Village. And we did have a well, you guys are going to hear it first, about the removal of a ride. For any of you across from the Midnight Flyer,